Hey everybody, I'm Trish Christ. NECAT and our super crew of teenagers are with Nashville Shakespeare Festival today. Executive Artistic Director Denise Hicks is going to show and tell us everything they do with adults and children in the community. Actors, take their places.
Places, please.
It's our Nashville!
It's our Nashville.
Esto es nuestro Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville. It's our Nashville!
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
It's always easy to sell it, elevator pitch style, because I believe so much in the power of Shakespeare to transform a community or to enhance the quality of life here. So especially if I know they live here and if I know they have children, I can easily say you have to come to Shakespeare in the Park, because it's such a just a wonderful experience for a family to sit under the stars in a beautiful park and hear great actors speaking beautiful language.
I love sitting around talking about theater with you. I mean, we might as well be doing it at your house or my house.
We could do hours.
Out in the park somewhere. Let's talk about the different ages and the different things that you do. So maybe we go from youngest to oldest, if that's a way to sort of categorize the variety of
All the world's a stage, and there are 7 ages of man.
Perfect.
And at first is the infant, and that's what, back to Shakespeare in the Park. You can bring your infant to Shakespeare in the Park. And
they're not going to disrupt the show.
They are not, and we don't mind if they do, because that's living theater. You know, that's the real thing. And if babies cry, hopefully our actors are tuned in enough that they are either going to speak louder than the baby crying or address that baby directly. So, but for small children, I think Shakespeare in the Park is a really great introduction to grown-up theater, because it's for all ages. The language can be really mesmerizing for them, but it's really physical. So there's a lot to see and a lot of movement and a lot of playfulness in that. And
it is playing for both the performer and for the kids in the park, I would think.
Yeah, and it's playing together. Like in Shakespeare, there's no fourth wall. You know, like in modern drama, there's no barrier between the audience and the actor. We need the audience to be part of the play, because who else is Hamlet talking to? When he says, oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I, he's saying that to all these 1,200 best friends that he's got sitting in front of him. So Shakespeare's characters trust the audience more than they trust any other character on stage. So there's when people are entrusted with confidences or confessions, that makes them feel a part of what's happening. So it's a really important part of, I think, of all theater, but especially Shakespeare, because people yearn for connection. In our ever shrinking world. I mean, the world seems to be getting smaller and smaller, but we really, really need to be connecting in real time, in the third dimension, here and now. And theater does that for us.
So that's Babies in the Park.
It's babies and littles. We've been in the schools for years and years now, in all kinds of ways. We'll take little performances in. Brian Russell and I will just go in and do a 2-person performance in a classroom if we can, if they let us. But we send professional teaching artists in to help the teachers. Really, it's almost like a favorite aunt or uncle coming into the room, because the parent, the teacher, has been telling you, this is Shakespeare and it's good for you. And then in comes, you know.
Cool Uncle Brian.
Yeah, exactly. And makes it fun and says exactly the same. There are so many theater teachers that I've been in their classrooms, and I'll say something and all their kids whip and look at the teacher because they've heard her say it. That's too. Cool. And she's like, I told you. So that's been really fun. We've been in the schools across the state, really, and we have a great relationship with homeschools now, which
that's cool.
Our Winter Shakes, which is started in 2008, so it's been going for quite a while, is a show, is a full Shakespeare play that we do in an indoor theater, as opposed to summer Shakespeare in the Park, which is outdoors and sprawling. This is more contained, and we always have 10 a.m. matinees for students. So that's been a really great experience and a great expansion for us, because we always wanted to be more have more focus on education and how really can we help the teachers keep Shakespeare alive and help young people understand the relevance of that literature and why it's not just a lot of complicated language. It's the language that we speak, and Shakespeare was a master of that. So why not study that? It's the language that connects us, that keeps us peaceful, that helps us express ourselves. You know, it's a really important aspect of our society, and that's why students should be learning it in school. There's always arguments that, well, Shakespeare's old, you know, let's only study modern writers, but I feel like there still has yet to be a writer that's as prolific and as masterful as Shakespeare was. When we read Shakespeare aloud, so here we are up into the lovers, soldiers, and judges phases of our Ages of Man, we have Shakespeare Aloud, which is a program at the public library.
And that's ALLOWED?
It is. That was thanks to Eileen Catcher said, well, it's allowed and it's allowed, so we went with the allowed. But we do read aloud the first Saturday of every month since October of 2008.
Awesome.
We read all the plays in chronological order according to Ann Cook Calhoun, who's a local scholar, brilliant woman. She said, this is the order he wrote them, so we're like, fine. Other people will argue that. So we started reading them in October of 2008. We finished in 3 years. It takes 37 months to read them all. Wow. And everybody in that program, there are about 20 or 30 regulars who come to every first Saturday reading.
So these are actors who read aloud?
Let's do it again. No, they're just people who show up. All kinds of people. It's really English language learners come to read along. There's a brilliant Chinese doctor who comes, and he says it really does him good to hear the language as he's looking at it. And he said, maybe someday I'll sit at the read aloud table, but for now I just read along. But
oh, I see. So there are spectators, and then there are
there's
sort of
a lot
volunteer
of
readers who
come to just read along, too shy to read out loud, you know, or just enjoy the reading process and don't want the pressure of, oh, I'm going to get this really long speech. But then there are some actors who sit at the table. There's usually a few peppered. Some music. David Olney started with us with doing Shakespeare at Shakespeare Aloud. He'd always loved it, but he never really realized the joy of reading out loud before. So, so Shakespeare Aloud has been going and continues to go. We've already read through the whole canon, all 37 plays, or 38, twice, and now we're in the third round, and who knows, we'll finish in 2018, and we might start over again. It's really fun, and it's been a great way to just hear the plays.
Well, I have I'm sure you have favorite characters, and when I read a book at home, I often don't like a movie that's been made about a book that I love, because I have my own head movie where I've cast my own story, and my question for you is, do you have a Shakespeare, he himself, is he a person in your mind beyond the iconic drawing that you guys use as your logo? Do you know that guy? Do you have him?
No. That is such, I've never even thought of that question, and my immediate answer is no, because every character seems so real to me. So, and there are so many of them that he's way back there somewhere behind all of, King Lear and Hamlet and Lady Macbeth, and like they're all standing in front of me when I think of Shakespeare, and I can't even see him at all.
You guys have often done really cool twists on physical setting and time setting in Nashville Shakespeare Festival performances. Talk to me a little bit about that. That's delicious as a viewer because it kind of puts it closer to my world. I don't know kings and queens and so forth, but if it's 1960s Italy, that's a little more closer to my. I have a better imagination image of what 1960s Italy is. So for you to put stories in that time frame or 50s America or that's.
It's all imagined time anyway. Shakespeare wasn't historically accurate. There's a famous in Julius Caesar, a clock tower strikes. Well, they didn't have clock towers in Caesar's time. So that is a great, just for me, it's Shakespeare saying, don't worry about historical accuracy. Let's just tell a great story. So I read these plays and I see, well, what's this story about? And what time frame in our minds or our experience might help really illuminate that story and those relationships. So we don't really do those twists just for novelty, but we really do it to help tell the story more clearly, or to help people to lower the threshold for them to step into the story. If it's way high, way long time ago, it's a little bit harder to connect to, but if they have got pumpkin pants and rough collars and these weirdo things on, then people are going, who are these people? But if they look at Hamlet and they go, oh, that's my son, or that's my brother, or that's my boyfriend, I think then they're already that much closer to actually relating to why the play is important.
So we've talked about a variety of different ways that anyone from a newborn to a retired person can
Sun's
get
teeth, sun's eyes, sun's face. Because we have a class that we offer in the winter with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute.
That's cool. That's out of Vanderbilt, right?
It's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. And the Osher, the Ollie learners come to see one of our 10 a.m. matinees in the winter, and it's just been, they're really great students, and the classes are so interesting. But yeah, that's I think it's a national, maybe even international program of Lifelong Learning Institute, but Vanderbilt is who hosts it locally. It's been so cool.
How many people do you think come together to put up a Nashville Shakespeare Festival production? I think it's
so many.
It
is
lot,
so
right?
many. I mean, the bottom line, we have anywhere from 12 to 24 in a cast, and then there's a crew of another 12 to 25, and then there are volunteers. That is a huge circle because we need so many volunteers to help us. Really, volunteers are like the rubber part of the tire. Our volunteers are where the rubber hits the road. The volunteers, our board is in there. I mean, just the individual support, which is what makes the Nashville Shakespeare Festival possible. That is, probably, I don't know, it's up in the tens of thousands of people.
So because PEG channels like NECAT, we can't solicit donations on our type of channel. Other than funding, which every nonprofit needs, what could someone watching us chat here today, how can they get involved with you? What can they do to help Nashville Shakespeare Festival?
They can come. I mean, really, honestly, because I always tell the summer audiences, if you weren't here, we wouldn't be doing this, so come see shows.
My name is Robert Marigza. I'm the operations manager and producer of the Nashville Shakespeare Festival. Well, Shakespeare really is for everybody. Shakespeare asks all the important questions of life that people need to consider. And Shakespeare wrote in poetry, and that's part of the reason that his work endures. It's almost like a music of words that can wash over you, and you may not get every concept the first time you hear it, but it will, the stories will work on you, and then eventually the language will work on you, and so the plays have almost an infinite depth that you can explore as you produce them in different ways, or go to see them again and again, or even see the same production again and again. You're going to hear different things, and different things are going to come out to you in the performance. And if you stick with it, there's so much to gain by getting on board with Shakespeare and experiencing these stories and these words, these glorious, this symphony of words that he gives us. Denise is fond of saying that what we do is public service, I totally agree with that.
Hi, my name is Santiago Sosa. I am the Artistic Associate for the Nashville Shakespeare Festival. I work as the Apprentice Company Director and many other things. I work as a text coach, a director, sometimes an actor, and basically anything we need to get done, I try to help out as much as possible. What do I say to someone who doesn't get it? I say, do you have a heartbeat? Because I do believe that Shakespeare speaks to the heart. I think there's not an emotion, a thought, an idea, a concept that he hasn't touched upon in some form or another with his language. I think anything that we may experience today, humans experienced then 400 plus years ago, and I think he was able to capture a lot of it in the 37 plus plays that he wrote, and the 157 sonnets and 2 long narrative poems. He wrote a lot about the human heart and the condition and the things that we go through and deal and struggle with every day. And what we really strive to do at Nashville Shakes is to tell very clear stories. The language is always first, more than anything. And we're really big on just making that poetry clear for people. Over concept, over ideas, we really want to focus on telling a clear story. I love to be around younger actors because they're so enthusiastic about it that I think it keeps me young. And I think working with young minds who haven't quite some of them are in high school, haven't quite gone out in the real world and just yet. They teach me how to be a better man. And I think before you're a good Shakespearean actor or Shakespearean speaker, you have to be a good man first, or a good woman. And once you can sort of achieve that, then be a good person who does something well. And if that thing you do well is Shakespeare, then be a good person who does Shakespeare well. And I think that's what we work on with the apprentices, is like how to be kind, how to have courage, how to be confident and go after things. And we really focus on encouraging each other, hard work, discipline, and then while we work on those elements, we infuse it with Shakespeare text and language. And my hope is to train young actors to be the next leads and superstars of Nashville, and then maybe go on to somewhere else, out to California or Utah, Chicago, New York, and when someone says, "Man, that's great. Where did you come from?" I'm like, "I came from Nashville and got my start at the Nashville Shakespeare Festival." It's always nice to hear of other young actors that have gone on to do other things and sometimes come back. So I think my biggest desire is just to train young actors who have a love for words.
So my name is Owen Reed, and over the summer I was in Macbeth in the park, and in the winter I was in Romeo and Juliet.
My name is Morgan Davis, and in the summer I was also in Macbeth, and then in the winter I was in Romeo and Juliet as well.
My name is Tristan Whitney. Over summer I got to do Macbeth as well. and in the winter I got to do Romeo and Juliet.
My name is Andrew Johnson. I've had the privilege to work with Shakes a few times. I started with As You Like It in the Apprentice Company, and then this summer was also in the Scottish play, because we're in a theater and don't want to get everyone killed.
Too late.
Too late.
3, it might be a magic thing.
No, we're all
I don't
dead.
know.
No, we're dead.
And was recently in Romeo and Juliet with this entire crew.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Jonah M. Jackson, and I've gotten to do all of the shows with Nash Shakes for the past 2 years. I did Henry V with them, and then King Lear for the 2016 season, 2015-2016, and then this past summer did the Scottish play and Comedy of Errors, and then Romeo and Juliet this past winter.
Everyone is incredible to work with. They cast incredible actors, as you can see here. And the directors are always amazing to work with, and there's a level of professionalism, but also a lot of fun, and they really leave it open to creativity from the actors, and it's just a blast.
If someone here had to kill me with a sword, and I had to be killed, and I had to choose one person, it would be my friend Jonah, right here.
Whoa.
Because,
How about that?
you know, if I had to die by someone's hand here, it would definitely be it.
Wow.
I'll never speak to you again.
If I had to be killed by anyone with a sword here, I mean, in my heart, I really want to say Andrew,
No, you
just
don't.
because I feel like it would be.
No, you don't,
I feel like it would be the most.
That's fine.
I feel like it would be the most awesome. Like it would just be like incredibly badass if I'm allowed
It
to
would.
say that. He would probably
give you a
lift
good
my
death.
whole
I would
body
give you
with
a
a sword.
warrior's death.
But another part of me really thinks it would be super cool if Morgan killed me with a sword, because I feel like it would be very sad and like why are you
Very
doing
sad.
this to me?
Yeah.
And I can just imagine her being like, well, sorry.
It's time.
This is where it ends.
It's time.
Espresso. People
Should
Come,
See?
Shakespeare.
and
win.
they,
Do.
Come.
they
Will.
enjoy.
A lot.
Of.
That,
words
Spoken.
eloquently.
And
Especially.
well.
With.
A
great.
Sense.
And
Swords.
and
Adventure.
And.
enjoyment.
Of.
the world. The
The world.
World.
Period.
So I have one more surprise for you.
Oh, no.
We're going to do a speed round of questions.
Okay.
It's the game, just like when we were kids. I say something and you say the first thing that comes to your mind, and then we just zoom through the whole process. Are you ready?
Cats.
Dogs. No, wait, that's not. Okay, so I go first. Complete the phrase, to thine own self.
Be true.
What's the meanest Shakespeare line you know?
I'd rather hear a dog bark at a crow than a man say he loves me.
What's the funniest Shakespeare line you know?
I'd rather hear a man bark at a crow than a dog. No, a man
It
bark
did
at
make
a
me
crow.
laugh when you said that the first time. What does forsooth mean?
For real. Forsooth, for true.
I didn't know that. I thought it meant listen up. So great. Is Shakespeare stodgy?
Oh, no. No, as a matter of fact, he's bawdy and naughty and fun to hang around with.
How many Heisman Trophy winners has the Nashville Shakespeare Festival stabbed to death on stage?
I've only stabbed one that I know of.
How many people are typically involved in putting together a show for the Nashville Shakespeare Festival?
Well, if we just count the people working on this show, maybe 100, maybe 150, somewhere around there.
150 people.
Yeah. But we need the other 17,000 that show up to see the show. They're very important parts of it.
What Shakespeare play did Gilligan and his friends perform on the island?
Oh, Hamlet?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a vivid memory of Ginger saying, "Oh, my poor Hamlet."
That's a good impersonation.
Thank you. Well, I did identify with her a little. And last of all, what's your website?
www.nashvilleshakes.org.
Thank you.
Many a good hanging prevents a bad marriage.
To thine own self be true.
Yeah.
The clothes does make the man.
They do. They do.
The lady
Shakespeare.
does protest too much, methinks.
I doth.
Every dog has its day.
There's a method to his madness.
Cruel to be kind?
What's that mean?
Ask Hamlet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Senor Benedict, will thou still be talking? No one marks you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my
It's a
dear
good one.
Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
I'll amend my ways if you amend your face. What's what?